it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today's project is this one. I am back to my favourite so far of the new catalogue, the Lilypad Lake set. I'm using the bundle, and remember, because it's a bundle, you get 10% off when you buy the matching stamp set and dies. So the dies and the stamp set, as I say, together save 10% off each. You do need to remember to use the bundle code, is the only thing I would say. Now, bearing in mind this set is called Lilypad Lake, I thought it was about time I actually inked up the Lilypad. Don't think I've inked up the crane before either, so here we go. First time for everything. So, we're starting with a piece of shimmer white cardstock, and I have cut this at 2.5 inches square. And I am going to start by building up the C. That's the word I'm looking for. You've seen me do this before if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, but hey, it's always worth having a little revisit. So I'm using Balmy Blue, and I'm putting it sort of just above halfway, and then stamping once and stamping again just to get a slightly stamped off look. And then I've got my little chamois out to the side here, so clean that off. I will need that again, but we'll put it to one side for the moment. And then my soft sea foam, which I think is just a gorgeous colour, and I'm going to stamp that, and again, and I know I'm going to have to re-ink because it is a very soft colour, but having the stamped off does help just build up the layers. And again, clean that off. Balmy Blue, soft sea foam I don't need anymore. What I do need is Pineapple Punch, which is the most amazing yellow. And I also need a post-it note, and I'm just going to cover up. Can you see? I've got it wavy side up, so I'm going to cover up so that this and this are just exposed, but only just. So can you see that? So they're just exposed, but not too exposed. And then ink that up and just stamp it so that the sun is about halfway down and is just touching the tops of those two waves. So that's that. Do be careful. Actually, let me show you. If you ink this up too much and then press too hard, you get a circle in the middle, which is kind of okay if that's what you're wanting, but not necessarily the look you're after. So probably best not to. I'll maybe need a bit of that. So I've got an aqua painter, and I'm just going to, clear the decks a bit, just going to pick up a bit of the Balmy Blue from the lid of my stamp pad and just add a bit of colour to that. Now, here's the thing. I announced this on my website a little while ago, but as you know, I tend to film in advance. So, today's one of the hottest days of the year, and here I am crafting. But there we go. Just picked up some of the Pineapple Punch. But today, or in your world a few days ago, Stampin' Up announced, so I'm just bringing that yellow down into the sea so that it's got a sort of sunset feel. Stampin' Up have announced that the usual joining offer in July will be even better. So you can order, if you join my team in July, as well as the normal £130 worth of product of your choice, for £99 including free postage and packing, you will also get to choose any of the 5 colour families. So they've put together the 2017-2020 in colours, so the ones we had in the last catalogue and the new ones. They've put those together specially for this promotion, and there's a new item number for those, which is on my blog. And if you go to the joining page on my blog, you'll find all the information anyway. But you can have either the in colours, the brights, the neutrals, the regals, or the subtles. So any one of those, these are worth £63 even if you bundle them. So during July, instead of the usual £130 worth of products, you will get 193 up to £193 worth of products. So worth bearing that in mind, and I'll cover some more of that later on. Now this needs to dry, but in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I prepared earlier, and I know Blue Peter doesn't travel particularly, but I gather that some of you have been looking at the reference up, so that's great. Right, so I've also got a piece of Whisper White that I need to stamp on, because we need to stamp, die cut and colour our crane, and I'm using Memento ink because I'm going to be using blends. So that's my crane, or egret, or whatever it is, and that's my Lilypad. And then whilst I'm stamping in black, I'm also going to use now what does it say? Be calm and leave it to God sentiment. I'm just going to stamp that there. So that's all of the black stamping that I need to do. Okay, so we've got quite a lot to do, so let's get on. I've got a selection of blends. The current colour of blends are in, so the ones that carried over from the last catalogue are in stock. Hurrah for that, not before time. We're still waiting for the new colours to arrive, but we can wait. They'll come. So I'm just going to add some Old Olive Dark to a couple of areas on the lily pads themselves. Now I'm being a little bit poetic license about this because lily pads are actually quite dark, but it's fine. Old Olive is fine. It's the only green I have to choose from, so you know what? It's perfect. It's not just fine, it's perfect. So I tend to use the bullet end for the shading and the paintbrush end to colour in. Now when you first get your blends, do be aware that they will be absolutely jam-packed full of ink. So you need to be a little bit careful that you don't end up with them spreading too much. I've had mine for a while, so it's not quite such an issue. This is the light Calypso Coral, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that to some of these flowers, or the petals. Now you can take a bit more time. I would encourage you to take a bit more time, but hey, I'm actually going to colour that there as well. It's probably the wrong colour, but I don't actually mind. And then a bit of the light smoky slate just to add some shading. And again, when you do this, you can spend a bit more time, but I'm just doing it for the sake of the video. And then, actually, while I've got that out, let's do the shading on my crane as well. So I'm just adding a bit of the dark smoky slate in the sort of obvious places where there's going to be shading. And then the light smoky slate, just to blend that a bit. And then I'll be adding a bit of a surprise, I think, on top of that. So, blender pen, probably want the bullet end, and I just want to blend those edges a bit. It just softens it all down a bit. It's actually, is it blender pen? It's not blender pen, it's colour lifter. But it does work very well as a blender. So it's not the blender pen, it's the colour lifter. But it just softens all those edges nicely. Right, and this is the one that I say is a bit of a surprise. This is the light Pool Party, which I'm just using to add a bit of really, you know when white is really bright, it's almost blue? Well, that's what I'm doing with this. And then I'm going to come in again with the colour lifter and just soften that middle area down a bit. And that's that. Right, okay, snips are here. So I'm just going to cut these into their constituent parts, because for once I'm actually going to die cut on camera. Might be a mistake, but you know. Right, so big shot. How much of that can you see? Enough! Hurrah! So big shot, and I've got the magnetic platform on. So the thing with the magnetic platform is you kind of need to, for it to do its thing. Fighting it is not going to work because it just won't. But we have enough of it for 3 bits really easily. So let's start with the Be Calm and Leave It to God. So I'm going to pop that there, and I am deliberately coming off the edge. Then the Lilypad itself. And is it going to behave? Ooh, for the moment it is. Hurrah! Which means that the crane won't. Because if the Lilypad does, the crane is almost bound not to. Woo! I'm in luck. Okay, I'm being calm and leaving it to God. Right, so wind that through. Sorry if this is shaking the camera. Take those 2 bits off. And then this one, let's push it back this way. So the Be Calm and Leave It to God, I'm going to pull it across and line it up so that the cut edge is straight in the die. And then it needs to be a bit further across. And then run it back through. And it will have cut the label smaller, which is after all what I want. So there we are. So let's get rid of all of this because we don't need it anymore. Right, okay, so this is the Here's One is that the Here's One I prepared earlier? Yeah, yes it is. Right, okay, so I'm going to be using a soft seafoam base. I am using, honest to God, I am using Pineapple Punch and Balmy Blue for my mats, and I'm doing this a slightly different way. So, a bit of snail. You could use, oh, apparently not a bit of snail. It's always the way, just as you want your glue to work, you run out. So, let's refill it very quickly. You could use Tombow, which would probably be my favourite if it wasn't for the fact that I'm going to be running it through the trimmer. So, but this is fine. This is how you change your Tombow. Simple as that. Preferably without sticking your Tombow to your card. So I would use a good amount of Tombow because there is a little bit of wrinkling because the cardstock was damp. Then just the tiniest, weeniest little edge, and then pop that in there. And can you see? Yes, you can. I'm just lining it up so it is only just, so the edge of my cardstock is just peeking out in the tray of the trimmer. So you get the smallest little bit showing. And again. And then same again with the Balmy Blue. Now this time don't need quite so much snail because the Pineapple Punch has taken a bit of the wobble out of the top surface. But again, I'm going for the very, very small matte. And again, now this time, because we've got 2 layers of card, I would go in both directions because otherwise the blade may not cut all the way down because this side is up a bit. But there we go, so that's that. That is that all done. So there we are. And then fold up our card. And this is just a half sheet of A4. And now, I know I had some. There we are. I will use my multi-purpose glue. That is plenty. And just pop that at the top so that we've got a kind of even bit all the way around. Where are we on timing? This is ridiculous. 19 minutes to make a card is silly. However, we're nearly there. So here are our 2 bits. So I need one of those on there. I need a little one. Now you could just use minis, you don't have to use the big ones as well. And I'm going to just cut here some very, very, very narrow strips, which I will pop on his legs. That's, oops, that's one. And then oh, so narrow I can't pick it up. This is silly. And the other one. And that is pretty much, I might just get a tiny weeny bit just for his head. This is where these little edge bits are perfect. So, 1, 2, those are peeled already, don't need to peel those. So pop that there. And I want just a little bit at the edge for the lily pads. Now I'm not putting too much further up the lily pads because it's going to be over 3 layers of card. So I don't want it being an odd angle. So I'm actually deliberately sticking it down to the card and not the mat. And then on the back of this we'll pop a couple of edge bits and a, well, one edge bit in the middle. And then we will be done. If I can get this off. There we are. So that's the one we've just made, and here's one I prepared earlier. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. A few tips and techniques there. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Do remember, if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's about there. If you don't subscribe to my blog, you can do that by email, so you get a notification of my blog posts. And then you can also, if you go over to my blog, subscribe to my newsletter, and you get all the information as it comes out. So I announced the wonderful joining promotion the day that came out. I did post it on my blog, and I also sent it in my newsletter. I sent a special newsletter just so that everyone knew. So it's a really good way to make sure you get everything. Sign up to my newsletter, sign up to my blog, follow my Facebook page. All of this is linked immediately below. My blog is the first link below, and then all my social media is in the next link down. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you need any of these products, please do hop over to my online store on my website and fill your basket. Remember to use the host code, and then you get to share in the rewards. Thanks a lot. Bye!